Hello everyone, welcome back to coverage of MSEM. This is Caillou, and this is a round 1 match for Grand Prix New Orleans. As has become tradition, we've once again broken an attendance record, getting up to 35 players. So this is going to be quite an interesting tournament, because this is also the first tournament since the release of Alara and Scriptures of Urshad. So it's going to be cool to see how those sets change the format. And like one of the cards here we see, Tendril Snare, is from Alara. So this match is between Ambrose Winters and Chumbeque. Ambrose is on blue-black Reanimator, as you can see from this cranial violation. And Chumbeque is basically on Abzan Rock, grindy mid-range with... We've had some Abzan mid-range decks before. Chumbeque's flavor of it is basically a 50-50 of new cards or new innovations that aren't usually played in this type of mid-range deck, and some of the existing cards that we've come to learn to love, basically. So Ambrose uses the cranial violation to dump his own horrific progenitor. Doesn't have any reanimation spells, though. So kind of in a bind here. Chumbeque can play a forest here, and then go Whisperwood's Exploration plus hold up Pithwilt, and that's a pretty decent line. And then Rainzai next turn to start putting up an offense. So yeah, on end, Chumbeque just going to play out the Whisperwood's Exploration. Mills Sangjin, Demon Worthy, and another Sangjin. I think you get back... Actually, I don't think... Okay, he's going to get back to Demon Worthy. I was going to say Demon Worthy is probably the best choice since it's a removal for an opposing reanimation target. But I could also see getting back a Sangjin and just being like, okay, I can hold up a Pithwilt plus hold up having a threat, but it looks like it doesn't matter. Milled 2 Sangjins, but naturally draws a third. And is going to tap out for the Demon Worthy on his own turn to exile the Flooded Morass, which is actually a pretty reasonable play, because I believe Ambrose's cheapest reanimation spell is at 3 mana. So if you're just assuming that you can keep Ambrose off mana, and the other one is 4 mana. So if you're assuming that you can keep Ambrose off mana so that he can't reanimate, that's a pretty reasonable plan. I think I personally would have gone for, since Chumbeque had the Sangjin, hold up Sangjin plus Deem, and then if Ambrose doesn't do anything relevant, just Sangjin back, and then next turn you can essentially hold up Pithwilt plus Rainzai, and then you're in a really good position. But yeah, now is going to run out the Rainzai for real. Mills, another Deem Unworthy, and a Bahum. And yeah, Ambrose is just flooding out. I think this game is kind of over, but the thing is, Chumbeque's deck does play kind of slowly, like it doesn't win quick. So it's going to give Ambrose a lot of draw steps to potentially top deck into a removal spell right here. Of course, if Chumbeque top decks a Lair in Alpha, I'm going to have to eat my words. No, okay, gets a Traitorous Informant. This is one of the new innovations that I was talking about. Essentially, the ability to act as a triple regrowth as long as you have the right cards. Of course, needing exactly green-white or exactly black-green, etc. is kind of difficult sometimes, but if you have the cards in hand for it, might as well. So uses Rainzai 0 to grab back Bahum, is going to cast it, and then probably Bahum is going to -2 here, take out the Flooded Depths. Oh no, it's going to can actually exile cards from graveyard, so yeah. +1, exile Horrific Progenitor plus Cranial Violation. And now I think this really is just over. Ambrose does have the Hazy Coppice, so could potentially untap Hazy Coppice, Heart of the Deadwood, and then into a reanimation spell. So I think that is, because you now have to one-turn it for sure. Oracle's Vision milling something is also reasonable. So Chumbeque mills 2 lands and a Chile. And again, because of the Rainzai, having cards in graveyard is actually pretty okay. So draws a Constant Conjuring, but doesn't have any targets in grave. I guess at this point you just play the Hazy Coppice and then Constant Conjuring the Heart of the Deadwood. You can't destroy a creature, but then you can get back a Sangjin or a Chile, I think. Yeah, I think the problem is it's just difficult because you know that Chumbeke's just going to immediately -2 Rain's Eye in your Heart of the Deadwood. And then what do you do then? I'm surprised Ambrose didn't still play a land and go for it that turn, but I don't know. So Chumbeque upticks Bahum, exiling the 2 temporal resuscitations, and then pluses up Rain's Eye, milling another Rain's Eye, and 2 more lands, it looks like. Sorry, another land. So at this point is content to just sit back. Once again, has Whisperwoods into Deem as a removal option. So on end here can just go Sangjin into Whisperwoods. So Yup is going to play the Sangjin, and Yup is going to cast a Whisperwoods as well, getting back the Chili, so it's going on the offensive. Can also, so has black-green, green-white, so can also Trader's Informant if they wanted to, but I think just playing the Chili is a stronger play. Oh, and there's the Layer in Alpha. If Chumbeque wants to tap out for that, could kind of just end the game right here. Yeah, Layer in Alpha coming down. You swing for what? You swing for 10, pump up everything, exile 2 more cards from Ambrose's graveyard, have overwhelming board presence. This game was over for Chumbeque before, but is going to end it in style. Like, I don't see a way for Ambrose to come back from this. I think, I guess what Ambrose could do is discard Heart of the Deadwood with Hazy Coppice, Constant Conjuring it back, get the Layer in Alpha, have a big board, and then maybe kill the Rain's Eye to prevent the O-Ring. That's a potential play, actually. Especially since Chumbeque doesn't have a way to interact. How much will Chumbeque have on board after that? Well, okay, look, I think Chumbeque will still have enough for lethal next turn. No, No, actually won't, because Ambrose will have... Oh, no. No, okay, Ambrose scooping. But I think that Heart of the Deadwood, grab the Laren is actually a pretty decent play. So looking at sideboards for these players. For Ambrose, Stabilize is not what you want here. Stay Determined is mostly for the aggressive matchups. Slums Purge I don't think is good, again, unless you're playing aggro. Neutralize, not great. Violent Collapse, maybe. And then Duress is, I think, actually a fine bring-in here. Probably can take out Find Happiness or something. I could see taking out maybe 1 reanimation target, 1 Find, bring in 2 Duress. That's all I do for Ambrose's sideboard. So for Chumbeque, lots of options here. The sideboard really just seems like, hey, I'm going to play extra copies of my main board cards. Where you at? I think Bahum's Penance is essentially Grave Hate, so I think you could bring that in. Pithbolt is actually not super great in this matchup, because Constant Conjuring is on 4, so I think you can take out 4 Pithbolt, bring in 3 Bahum's Penance and a Tendril Snare, and then maybe take out the Rayla Rachis for 2 Mupumos. And then I think that pretty much sets you up for success. You have a bunch of exile removal, you have a bunch of recursion. I think this is a pretty... Even post-board, this is just overwhelmingly in Chumbeque's favor. So we're getting into game 2 here. Ambrose looks like did bring in the Duress and unfortunately hits that off the Slums Purge. Hits that off the Precursor Sanctum. I said Slums Purge because it looks like Ambrose brought that in. I think that's a mistake. I think this is not a matchup where you want the Slums Purge because you are not going to die to aggression. You are going to die to them having interaction. And Slums Purge I don't think is actually good. Like, you can bounce a Rain's Eye, but other than that, it's just not... There are very few relevant interactions. It does have turn 3 Temporal Resuscitation to get back the Shigure, though. And then can basically islandify Chumbeque's land so that Chumbeque can't Tendril Snare it. Does have... and like that will also turn off the Bahum's Penance. Oh yeah, so it's playing the Chi-Li, but then Ambrose just goes, okay, untap, Temporal Resuscitation, bring back Shigure, islandify all of your permanents, and then Chumbeque has to top deck a green land to get a Tendril Snare. So yep, here comes a Shigure, and everything is islandified. And basically being a creature plus double land destruction is really difficult in this matchup. And that's another expensively pipped card that Chumbeque can no longer cast. Would have had perfect mana otherwise. but now is relying on just top decking a green source somewhere, anywhere. Otherwise, literally can't play a spell and dies in 3 turns to Shigure. And Ambrose with another Temporal Resuscitation, so even if Shigure dies to the Vanishing, we'll be able to get it. We'll be able to get it back with the Temporal Resuscitation. Doesn't have any other targets right now though, so I think for now you honestly just play the Murmuring Falls, swing in with Shigure. Don't do anything else because you're pretty much just chilling. Yep. Or can also cast a Duress off the Precursor Sanctum if they wanted to. Of course, it won't do much because Chumbeque has double Tendril Snare, but it is a valid play. Yeah, looks like they're going to go for that. So Duress coming out. And I think here you just take... What do you take here, honestly? Do you take one of the Tendril Snares? I might just take one of the Tendril Snares. Because, like, that way if you top deck another Duress before Chumbeque top decks a land, you can just strip them of their relevant removal. And nothing else in Chumbeque's hand is really, like, coming up soon relevant enough threat. Grabs the Bahum, which I guess is acceptable because Chumbeque doesn't have 2 copies of it. And so, but like, what is Bahum going to do? It's going to come in, exile a land or gain some life, and then you just Shigure it and it dies, and you have another Temporal Resuscitation, so you're fine. And yikes, okay, so now can Cranial Violation again, discard the Horrific Progenitor, and then revive the Horrific Progenitor, and then Chumbeque can't double removal spell, so just loses. So yeah, if Ambrose does Cranial into Temporal Resuscitation on the Horrific Progenitor, I think they just win. If they pass, there's the potential for Chumbeque to still make a game of it. Okay, Ambrose is passing. Again, I think that's just a bald-faced mistake given what we know of... but Chumbeque doesn't top deck the green source anyways. So we're going to a game 3. Whew! And yeah, that early Shigure just cut off Chumbeque's greedy deck. And wow, okay. Going straight into game 3. Neither of these players wasting any time. And yeah, single land hand means this is definitely a mull for Chumbeque. On Ambrose's side, doesn't have the Temporal Resuscitation, but does have Cranial Violation into potentially turn 4 Constant Conjuring. So, oh no, looks like it's going to mull that. I think this is a worse hand, because it doesn't have an actual reanimation target. Precursor Sanctum is fine though. If Chumbeque and man, Chumbeque having to keep a kind of snashty 2-lander. I think probably should have played the Burial Grounds first because it enters tapped regardless. And then that way would have been able to hold up the Whisperwoods or play a Chile. I think the sequencing here from Chumbeque is definitely a mistake. Because now can't make a turn 2 play. Ambrose not getting a reanimation target off the Precursor Sanctum, just getting another Constant Conjuring. So is overloaded on ways to bring stuff back from the grave, but doesn't have anything to put in there. Meanwhile, Chumbeque continues to draw straight gas, but Burial Ground... Oh, I guess Burial Grounds enters the battlefield tap unless you control a forest or plains. Okay, so it's planning to search up the forest and then bring in the Burial Grounds untapped for the black green for the Whisperwoods. And there's a reanimation target. Ambrose can... Oh no, did Ambrose... Oh my god. Okay, I was going to say, okay, no, still has the Hazy Coppice. I was going to be like, oh my god, did Ambrose really bottom the Cranial Violation just for this to happen? But no, okay. So, I'm going to discard the Shigure. The problem, okay, so Chumbeque can't untap and exile this, but could find a Bahum's Penance off the Whisperwoods. Gets Tendril Snare, Bahum himself, and a Sangjin. Is that a third land? None of these look particularly appealing, but I think you could get the Tendril Snare as a removal spell, just in case. Because again, Tendril Snare is like basically one of your few outs if Ambrose gets the Shigure next turn. And Chumbeque still not hitting that third land. Oh no, not the Chile again! No, okay, he's going to play the Chile. But it looks like Ambrose is just going to counter that with the Unravel Mind. And mills Horrific Progenitor and Duress. I think you still, even though you milled the Horrific Progenitor, I think you definitely still go for Shigure off the Temporal Resuscitation here, because Shigure just ends, like, Chumbeque's life. Yeah. Because once you cut Chumbeque off 2 sources, it's like, okay, because Chumbeke's deck is so greedy for mana, and Chumbeque missed his third land drop. So I think this is looking like Ambrose taking it, unless Chumbeque can pull something out here. Does top deck a land, so brings it in untapped. I think that's a mistake because that makes Ambrose's clock on you 2 turns instead of 3. That seems really bad, and you don't have any spells to play off that. Oh no, it has a Sangjin. Never mind. Okay, so brings it in untapped for the Sangjin to block the Shigure, which I guess you take 2 less damage that way, so it's still a 3-turn clock. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So yeah, in response to Ambrose attacking with Shigure, he's going to flash in the Sangjin. Gets back one of the fetch lands. And this means if Chumbeque top decks another land, we'll be able to go land Mupumo or land Rain Zai. Alternatively, can Whisperwood's Exploration back a Tendril Snare? So has outs here. Of course, the problem is that Ambrose has another reanimation spell, so he can just bring back the Horrific Progenitor. And yup, is going to cast a Constant Conjuring off the Precursor Sanctum, getting back the Horrific Progenitor. So Chumbeque is actually, no, Chumbeque's just dead next turn then, yeah? No, okay. If Chumbeque top decks a land, can Mupumo on the Horrific Progenitor, yeah, can Mupumo the Horrific Progenitor, Shigure still hits in for 9, but then if Chumbeque gets another removal spell, can kill it. So actually, I think that cracking on upkeep here is wrong, because you want to increase your chances of getting a land here, because a land is your only out. Oh my god, and Chumbeque does top deck the land. So, can cast either Rainzai or Mupumo here. And, no, yeah, you want to cast the Mupumo. Yeah, sorry. So you cast the Mupumo, exile Horrific Progenitor, value. Can also cast Bahum, exile Constant Conjuring. That's not a bad play either. Both of them seem relatively valid. Okay, casting Mupumo. And then next turn can cast Rainzai, O-ringing the Shigure. So this is looking reasonably good for Chumbeque. Might be able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Shigure is going to be able to put Chumbeque down to 1 life though, so won't be able to use the Resplendent Substratum. So we'll have to So actually won't be able to cast Rainzai. Oh, interesting. So Chumbeque still needs to top deck a land, unless Ambrose goes for Mupumo here, which I think would just be dumb. Yeah, okay. So it's going for Chumbeque's face. So can still Bahum, but then Bahum. Oh, I guess Bahum. Yeah, Bahum doesn't take care of the Shigure, so needs a land. Once again, Chumbeque needs to top deck a land, and a basic land at that. And that's a Nomad's Township. Can't actually use that. So is going to cast a Bahum. What can you do with this, Chumbeque? What can you do with this? You're gonna +1. In response, Ambrose is gonna bounce it with the Slums Purge, but I don't think that matters. I don't get what the sequencing is about at all. Oh, and the reason that this is good for Chumbeque is because by gaining life, Chumbeque still can't use these lands to do anything, because it doesn't have any 2-mana removal spell. So Chumbeque still just dies to Shigure here. I think it's trying to psych Ambrose out. Oh no, Shigure dies to the Vanishing Trigger. Shigure dies to the Vanishing Trigger. Oh man. But it's okay. Has another Constant Conjuring, so Constant Conjuring, and this time I think it really is over. Because, oh no, but you take out Mupumo in 2 lands, and then you take out Mupumo, and then probably the Burial Grounds and a Resplendent Substratum. Why the Forest? That's actually a bad play. That is genuinely a bad play. You want to cut Chumbeque off as many colors as you can. On end, Chumbeque can now use Whisperwoods, get back Tendril Snare and use it, which would not have been possible if you had taken out the Resplendent Substratum. So that was, I guess, like, Chumbeque could have done it in response to the ability, but, like, yeah, I don't understand why Ambrose did that. Ambrose knows that Chumbeque has Tendril Snare. That just seems like what the kids call a big punt. Like, if your opponent has a non-basic, why are you going after the basic? Say Chumbeque casts a Whisperwood's Exploration, mills 2 lands and a Bahum. You definitely would have wanted that Swamp. So now, and yeah, it gets back the Tendril Snare and can cast it on the Shigure. Okay, so you basically just cast. Oh no, you can actually just cast Bahum. So it's going to Tendril Snare the Shigure. But I was going to think, my thought was you can cast Bahum here, exile the Constant Conjuring, um, and then next turn you can just start gaining life with Bahoom, and then exiling like cards from grave. I guess the thought is okay, just gonna get another card off Tendrils, get a basic off Tendril Snare. So, how much mana does Shigure cost again? 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So can't hard cast it. So, but is 1 mana off from being able to hard cast any of these threats. Um, but for now, yeah, but for now, all out of options. Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, that is 7 mana. Never mind. That is not 8. I just don't know how to count. So, is gonna hard cast a Heart of the Deadwood, grab back Chili of the Underworld from Chumbeque's graveyard. I actually think this is a mistake. I think you should get back the. Oh no, actually getting back the Sangjin or the Chili, I guess it doesn't really matter. My thought is that you get back the Sangjin so you can get one more land to get you closer to hard casting Shigure. But I guess the thought here is that you can just use Chili to get back. Actually, I don't get back a Duress. I guess that's fine. Oh, and I guess the problem is Chumbeque. Yeah, and so now the reason to play Bahoom over Tendril Snare last turn is because Bahoom would have at least been able to gain you some life here, so that you could, because Bahoom gains you 3 life. That gives you enough of a margin that you can play Grim Bastion, crack it, get a basic, play Rain's Eye, grab Heart of the Deadwood, but yes, since Chumbeque didn't play Bahoom last turn, just loses here. So, whew, in a tense 3-game set, Ambrose on Blue-Black Reanimator takes it 2-1 over Chumbeque's Abzan Rock deck. That was really good, and I think the interaction back and forth was really strong. But and like Chumbeque had exile removal, grave exile, and a bunch of hard pieces to fight through for the Reanimator deck, and those remain. But Ambrose managed to, and even after Chumbeque shored up game 2 and 3, just the nut draw of ditch a Shigure, bring it back turn 3 with your Temporal Resuscitation is just so strong. And like for a deck as greedy as Chumbeque's, you can't exactly rely on just casting like, oh, I have my mono-colored cards. Like, no, you don't. This deck is built to maximize Trader's Informant, but as a result, it minimizes its ability to function under a Shigure. But yeah, good games to both players. And until next time, this is Caillou signing off.